Hello and welcome to A Better Morning. I am Jared Moore. Let's welcome today's panel. The fantasy executive, Corey Parson.
Yay!
Lead NFL analyst of Fantasy Alarm and noted dog owner, Andrew Coop Cooper. Host of Her Story in the Making and co-host of Lightning Round, Britt Flynn. And head of content of Fantasy Alarm and award-winning host on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, or as it says on my notes here, some guy named Howard Bender.
Looking like Palpatine this morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm wearing these glasses just because it's very bright in my house, not because I have a dog bite on my face. Definitely not, right?
It's because, the 4th of July weekend, there's a lot of brightness going on out there. The show's future is bright, so I don't blame the sunglasses.
Exactly. I have
And
got
Corey,
Corey,
for the record, I changed the sheet to say the award-winning fantasy executive Corey Parson and just some guy named Howard, because I didn't want to hear you moaning and groaning again.
Finally, there's some justice in the world.
Thank you.
All right. Well, happy Friday to each and every one of you. Let us get to it. And we continue our NFL divisional odds breakdown as we move on to the AFC South. The Jacksonville Jaguars are the favorites to win the division at -160. The Tennessee Titans have the next best odds at +380, with the Colts at +500 and the Texans bringing up the rear at +800. So, Britt, I ask you, who do you like at those prices?
So I think that you have to go with the Jaguars here. I typically don't go for odds that are -160 because there's a very limited return on that. But after bringing in Calvin Ridley, after having another year under Doug Peterson, they're going to take this division. The Titans, as bad as they are, somehow always find a way into contention for the division. But I think that the suspension announced yesterday of right tackle Nicholas Petit-Frere really, really hurts their offensive line. They already had a weak offensive line, and now they only have one other guy on their depth chart at right tackle. Indy and Houston are both coming in with rookie quarterbacks, and they have a bunch of inexperienced pieces. So although I think that they can be good in the future, I don't think that you can put money on anybody but the Jaguars. Duval!
All right, Duval, but I'm not laying $1.60 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Matter of fact, I think that price is wrong. That price should be around +125 to +150 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Good year last year, but let's not get carried away. What I don't understand is just about every year, the team that everybody picks to win this division is the Indianapolis Colts. Oh, we got Phil Rivers. Oh, they got Matt Ryan. Oh, they got Carson Wentz. And they stunk with all of those players. Now they actually get a young quarterback and a system that fits him perfectly, and everybody's like, oh, no, not the Indianapolis Colts. This is the Indianapolis Colts. I like the price for the Indianapolis Colts right here. I like what they did. I like their defense. I like their pieces. I like the fact that this is a weak division. And listen, don't sleep on the Tennessee Titans. This is a team that went into Kansas City last year with Malik Willis and almost beat the Chiefs. They'll be in every game.
Yeah, I think the value here, if you caught me and Coop on the Quick Outs podcast, fantasy football podcast earlier in the week, it's not so much about the odds for who's going to win this division, because I do think that the Jags are a pretty chalky pick. I think it's looking at who's going to finish second, third, and fourth in this division. You can find odds to figure out exactly where that is. Because I do think that the Jags do win this division. I like the advancements that we saw last year, and I think they can take that next step forward. I like Corey's pick here of the Indianapolis Colts, not to win the division, but to finish second place. And I think we can get that somewhere around like +240, +250 to just kind of get that to happen, because I do agree that I think Richardson can help lead this team a little bit better.
Oh, man, it looks bad when you full screen me, huh? Ouch.
Oh, stop you crying, dude. Oh, put a Band-Aid on that.
Honestly, this week, I think you might have used more of my time than I have. But anyway, let me get to this. I think, honestly, you did a good job, Howard. You got so very close with the idea that the Jags are going to win this. So we look at the odds of who's going to come in second. Indy +250, Titans +225, Houston +330, and you just whiffed a little bit going for Indy, because the real team to pick here is the Tennessee Titans. I know they didn't make a lot of moves, but they don't have a rookie quarterback starting for them, and they have Ryan Tannehill coming back, Derrick Henry coming back, Jeffrey Simmons coming back, the important pieces of this team that help them cruise into second place and lose early in the playoffs, which is what they will probably do, and I'll probably make money at plus 225.
And not to mention that Treylon Burks and the hype out of camp with him and the rapport and chemistry that he's developed with Ryan Tannehill is apparently off the charts. Burks returned in better shape, in like faster. He knows the playbook. I'm not just touting Burks. I'm repeating what the beat writers say, dude.
Coming from
the beat writers. Oh, there we
the
go.
beat writers.
Coming from
It doesn't have anything to do with the ball.
Coming from the girl with the Arkansas ball over her shoulder, exactly. You knew it was coming.
The Titans, listen, well coached, but they don't got no players. Develop a chemistry with Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill sucks.
You know what's funny about that, Corey?
It's they're well coached. They play good situational football, but they don't have enough talented players to win the division.
I'm gonna start
coming second.
It is the thing is second. I think they are good enough to come in second. And the point you make there, I'm gonna start calling 7.5 wins the coach's line, because it seems like every bad team with a good coach, Vegas just goes 7.5. Patriots 7.5. Steelers 7.5, Titans 7.5. Like, not you look at the players and you can't figure it out. It's because of the coach, and I think the coach is good enough to get them into second here.
Yeah, but is their offensive line good enough to A, open up holes for Derrick Henry, B, enough to protect in pass protection? And that's the big problem here. Also, I think, is that they have lost weapons on the offensive line. We saw it diminish last year. And we're going to, and we saw it take a step back here in the offseason. Yeah, they drafted Skoronski, but I mean, Coop, why don't you do your T-Rex impression of Skoronski actually trying to pass block with these tiny little short arms? He's got like Kenny Pickett hands on T-Rex arms.
At the end of the day, I like the Skoronski pick because they also lost Nate Davis. So he could end up playing guard, right, with the T-Rex arms. He's going to find a spot on that line. But you're right. That's why you pick him to come in second instead of win.
If we talk about a team we talk about the offensive lineman. Like we just talked about the Titans, we talking about their offensive linemen. Like, that's what the Titans are. We're talking about their offensive linemen,
right,
not their skill position players. How many years you think Derrick Henry can carry the ball 275 times, 300 times effectively?
Derrick Henry's like Moses. He just runs in the Red Sea parts. Right. I mean, he can get through. He can get through.
He doesn't look Jewish.
Hey, and let me say another thing. These players that got the suspension for betting in the facility, they need to go to the NFLPA and get their suspension reduced from 6 to 2 games.
Isaiah Rodgers bet on one of the running backs prop bets for his own team. His suspension is not getting reduced.
No, not Isaiah Rodgers, but this Titans offensive lineman.
Oh yeah.
Should get his reduced.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, fellas, let me jump in here. Let's move on to the next topic. We have NBA free agency beginning tonight, as teams can start talking to players at 6 p.m. Eastern. Now, there is the free agent moratorium, which ends at 12:01 a.m. Eastern on July 6th, but teams are allowed to reach agreements in principle. Some of the big names available include Kyrie Irving, Draymond Green, Chris Middleton, and Fred VanVleet. One of the big names available via trade is James Harden, as the Sixers star exercises player option as is expected to be traded. So, Corey, knowing all of this, what is the most intriguing storyline heading into free agency?
The most intriguing storyline is going to have to be the most intriguing player out of this bunch, and that's going to be Kyrie Irving, dynamic, skillful basketball player, right? But you know what comes along with him. Now, you get him in the right spot, the right situation, he can be fantastic. But about 2 weeks into the season, he'll take 2 weeks off. And, the Kyrie Irving thing will start again. And, he's the smartest guy in the room and this, that, and the third. So his situation with the Dallas Mavericks and where he potentially ends up is the most intriguing. I think the players who can make the biggest impact on a different team would be Chris Middleton and Fred VanVleet. But those are going to be more expensive players. But those two guys can probably help somebody else get to the next level. But as far as intrigue, it's Kyrie Irving, because you never know what Son is going to do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that the names that you want to be talking about are Middleton and Fred VanVleet, but we're just going to be inundated with Kyrie Irving's flat earth and politics. We're going to be inundated with Draymond Green going back to the Warriors, and we're going to be, sitting here perpetually finding out where James Harden is going to land. I got to be honest with you, man. I am so sick and tired of where James Harden's going to land. This is just getting ridiculous. If this were any other industry, all right, you'd be looking at James Harden's resume and be like, you only stay at a place for like a year. Why do you keep moving on? Why are we continuously dealing with this? I mean, I find that it's just, completely ridiculous that he's the perpetual hired gun moving from team to team to team. Just go to Florida, get some wings named after you at Magic City. That's where you want to be. Thank you, James Harden.
Yeah, the most intriguing thing this offseason for me isn't actually the players. It's a Twitter account. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this account, Dropping Dimes 20 on Twitter, but this has been the most intriguing and interesting thing that I've seen in an offseason. This guy out of nowhere, he burst on the scene kind of picking draft picks, right? And he was right about a ton of them. And then he started dropping NBA news way before Woj and Shams. He dropped the James Harden one a half day before them, exactly what it was, things that only an insider could have. And then he started taunting Woj, saying, why are they paying this guy $7 million? And then the account mysteriously disappears. Did the league and the big 4-letter network send somebody to shut this guy up? Or maybe it was the son of a GM or something. I don't know. But this guy was dropping legit info and got like 50,000 followers in the course of like 2 days. And then poof, gone.
That's the great thing about burner accounts, right? You never know who's behind it, but somehow they found out. No, I agree that it's kind of boring always talking about Kyrie and James Harden. And to Howard's point, he's right. Harden has gone everywhere. He's treating NBA teams kind of like Pokemon. He wants to catch them all. He wants to be on every single team that he can be. The Clippers are apparently at the top of the list for a trade. And I think that kind of makes sense. So why not just go there? Why do we have to keep talking about this? Kyrie Irving is always an interesting player because you just wonder what kind of drama he's going to cause next. Which team doesn't care enough about their image to bring them in? I guess he has a meeting with the Suns today, and there are also rumors that he could go to the 76ers when and if Harden is traded. But yeah, I think that you're right. There's more to talk about than these guys.
Hey, Howard, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice right quick. Magic City is not in Florida. It's in Georgia. So you can't go get wings. Yeah, you said Florida. I just wanted to let you know that you had. I don't know if you ever been, but
can we roll back? Can we roll back that tape? Did I say that? Did I say Florida?
You said Florida.
What the hell?
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's all good. And James Harden, a veteran of that establishment. Listen, he just at this point, I don't think Harden is the player that he used to be. Once a great offensive player, one of the best offensive players in NBA history. I don't think he has that kind of game anymore. The two lesser players that we're not talking about, Middleton and VanVleet, are the ones that can win you championships or be nice pieces. But the guys, Harden and Kyrie is going to get all the talk. Listen, I don't think Kyrie tarnishes a brand or a reputation. He just is on some Kyrie stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I think Harden, you can win with that guy, but clearly his priorities aren't winning. He at this point he reminds me like a Darrelle Revis, the hired gun that you bring in and hope that he puts you over the top. But I wouldn't want him leading my team. If you're picking between a Jimmy Butler and a James Harden, it's clear who cares about what's on the court and who cares what's at the strip club.
And the thing about Kyrie too, it feels like he's very unapologetic. So he's going to pull his stuff, but he doesn't pull back on it. And that can kind of harm a team. And so I'm not sure how many teams are going to want to deal with that.
All of them except the ones he's already been to, because everybody thinks they have a chance to fix it, or he's going to come here and do better. He didn't play at Duke. He ran from Cleveland. What he did in Boston was disgusting. With the Nets, he showed up every now and then. And in Dallas, he finished strong last year. But you give him a long-term deal, trust me, a month into the season, He gonna be like, I need 2 weeks off. I'll holler at y'all.
I'll tell you what.
It's like the dude running around being like, I'm going to get with this girl. I'm going to get with this girl. I'm going to get with this girl. And every girl saying the exact same thing. I can change him.
I can fix him. That's exactly what I was going to say.
And I'll tell you,
never happens.
The thing is,
you can't fix me. We know.
As a Celtics fan, man, when Kyrie was here, like those crossovers are magical. Like when the game is on, it's impossible not to be a fan because he's just so much fun to watch.
And it's just the most skilled basketball player we've probably ever seen. It's just a matter of, can you deal with that?
All right, well, let us move on to our next topic, and let's talk a little NASCAR. And you might be asking, why are we talking NASCAR? But I'll tell you why, as they are holding their first ever street race in the Cup Series on the streets of Chicago, the Grant Park 220. Martin Truex Jr. is the betting favorite at plus 650. Quick rundown of the other notable names: Kyle Larson plus 700, Chase Elliott and Tyler Reddick plus 750. Ross Chastain plus 850, and AJ Allmendinger plus 1,000. So I ask you a twofold question here, Howard. Will you tune in for the race, and who do you like?
All right. Well, I mean, let me just jump right in here and tell you all a little story about when I met my wife. And my wife and I, we got together, and I said to her flat out, I said, "Hun, if we're going to be long-term here, something that you need to know. I am not a DIY kind of a guy. I grew up having a super in New York City, so I never learned how to fix anything. So when there's like a plumbing problem going on in the house, what am I going to do? I'm going to call the plumber. I'm going to call the expert who knows what they're doing. So no, I'm not going to tune into NASCAR. But if I'm going to be betting, if I'm going to be playing DFS, I'm going to go beep, 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 beep. Hello, Matt Sells of Fantasy Alarm. Hello, Dan Malin of Fantasy Alarm. Tell me who's going to win this race, the Grant Park 250. Who am I betting on? What? Kyle Larson at plus 700? That's where I'm putting my money? Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye. Click.
That is 100% cheating. Matt, for those that don't know, Matthew Sells he won the NASCAR FSWA Writer of the Year 3 out of the last 4 years. So, okay, that's cheating. But honestly, for me, when I go to these types of races, this is going to be a street race, so it's a road type race. You have to consider the road specialists, Martin Truex, AJ Allmendinger. But for me, when they are racing a race that they don't race that often, I just want the best wheelman possible, the best driver, and that's Kyle Busch, man. Whether it's cars, trucks, boats, planes, it doesn't matter, man. This guy can flat out drive. He swept full weekends before with the truck race and both other races. That guy at plus 900 is the guy I'm picking to win a race if it's one that these guys don't really run, because he can drive anything at any time.
See, I don't necessarily think that, but I'll get into that in a second. I'm absolutely tuning in for this race. I think the scenery around Grant Park is beautiful. Watching the drivers battle it out around with Lake Michigan in the background is just going to be super cool. And it's historic. Think about the crashes. Think about the super speed these guys are going to navigate down downtown Chicago with. There are 12 turns in this race, many of which are 90 degrees. 100 miles an hour in downtown Chicago, sign me up. Ross Chastain, as much as I dislike him and a lot of others do, is always a favorite at the top, but he won his first race last week, and I can't see him going back to back. I'm actually going to go with Chase Elliott at plus 750 as the winner. He doesn't have many wins this season, but over his career on road courses, he has 7 wins, 15 top 5s, 18 top 10s, and an 8 average finish.
Yeah, I know a couple cats from O Block that drive 100 miles an hour in downtown Chicago, but I'm not sure if that's the entertainment we're looking for. Now, I do agree with Britt here about, the scenery, Lake Michigan in the background, and downtown Chicago and Grant Park and all of that cool stuff. I'll watch it on SportsCenter, because I'm not watching 1 second of a NASCAR race on the 4th of July weekend. I mean, what are we doing? You got to understand, I like to watch professional athletes perform at the highest level. In NASCAR, the athlete is the car. So you mean to tell me that this guy in this suit driving left turns at 100 miles an hour is an athlete? I'm not buying it. I'm not watching it. The car is the athlete. Can we get on to the next topic, please?
Listen, Corey. Just listen.
The car is the athlete.
The car may be the star of the show, but having to maintain your heart rate, having to have that reaction time, that awareness, that situation, having to go inches away from the next car to make a pass. I mean, without seeing anything, that is a talent and that is an art. That's something that's exciting. I'm not just saying this because my dad was a car racer. He was a drag racer, by the way, not a circle track racer, but there's so much more involved that the human brain has to process than just pure athleticism. I love it.
Are we sure? Are we sure that this street race in Chicago isn't just another promo for another Fast and the Furious movie? Like, if Dom Toretto comes out and wins this race this weekend, can we just turn around and say we're done, that this was just a one big promo?
It's all about family, Howard. And Corey's out here saying that. Corey's out here saying that in the hot dog eating contest this week, the athlete's not Joey Chestnut, it's the hot dog. Like, obviously, the people behind the wheel matter, right? Like, they're
believe so. I don't believe so. I think you can train for about 3 months, hop in one of them cars and drive it. You got a driver's license, you can win this race.
Hey man, there's nothing stock about a stock car. Come on. You can start throwing Days of Thunder quotes out here.
What's up, Britt? Explain to me how the car is not the most important thing. The person that's driving it, you can drive the car, Britt.
The car's the star, but yes, exactly. The car may be the star and the mechanism of it, but the athlete and the mental processing behind it, that's the star.
Boom.
All right, well, let's end the week on a light note here. It's the 4th of July holiday weekend. I know you're all excited. I'm excited. And while the 4th is known for fireworks, not everybody necessarily likes fireworks. I know my cat doesn't. So speaking for myself, I'm most looking forward to sitting in the backyard with a cigar and just shutting my brain off for about 4 days. So I ask you, of all the things associated with the 4th of July weekend, Coop, what would be number one on your power rankings?
You know, I'm going to get real local and specific with you guys and talk about something that probably only Brian Drozda, our own Brian Drozda, knows about because he's from New England. It's a New England specialty. And I'm talking about chocolate, actually coffee milk. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of it, but it's kind of like chocolate milk. It tastes like melted coffee ice cream. But I have this tradition where every year I go down to my buddy's place in Rhode Island and I have a deal with his dad. I trade him a bottle of Kettle One. He trades me 2 gallons of this coffee milk. And from there, I do my best not to drink it all in one day. But this stuff, man, if you haven't had a chance to have Monroe Dairy coffee milk from Providence, Rhode Island, you need to get out here and get you some, because that's tradition for me, unlike any other.
Is that like milk steak from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? I mean, that sounds disgusting.
Exactly.
But 4th of July was never a really big holiday for me growing up because mainly it was always too hot and dry and we were never allowed to shoot fireworks at the farm. We usually just grilled, so I don't really have a ton of experience with 4th of July activities, but I always remember the hot dog eating contest. There is something uniquely American about the gluttony of shoving as many hot dogs in your face at a time as you can while I'm sitting on my couch drinking a Budweiser. Nothing screams America like that. And the fact that we can bet on it is even better. By the way, Joey Chestnut is the favorite at negative 4,000, if that tells you anything about how this is going to go.
The GOAT.
All right, pause with the hot dog eating contest. But let's just say this right quick. Let's hop in here. You know, this is really, we are past the NBA Finals. We're not at training camp yet. 4th of July for me is when I turn the page and I start to get ready hot and heavy for fantasy football draft season. Because that's really, in our profession, in our business, that's really what we're going into now, putting strategies together so we can be dominant in the drafts coming up in August and early part of September. So really, this is when I turn the page and really get hot and heavy in the fantasy football, you know what I'm saying? So maybe I'm the only award winner up here that gets ready for their trade at this time of year, but it seems like all of us should be into that.
Well, Corey, you're certainly not the only award winner here. And I got to tell you, you know what? Yes, I love all the hot dog eating contest talk. My grandfather used to take me down to Coney Island when I was a kid for 4th of July weekend. But yeah, my favorite thing about this weekend is sort of similar to what Corey has to say, and that is I love preying on the weak-minded people who say, oh, I'm going to quit my fantasy baseball league and I'm going to go turn to fantasy football. You know what? You're not even at the mid-season point of the MLB season. And everybody who sits there and flakes out for 4th of July weekend and flakes out for the second half of the fantasy baseball season, bunch of losers. I start looking at all their teams and I prey on them and I make trades and I make deals and I build my team for the second half so that my fantasy football prep work really is no big deal because I've already established myself in baseball and I know I'm going to dominate there and take those winnings and move them on over.
There's about 10 people in 12-team fantasy baseball leagues across the country. So you know what I'm saying, Howard? And don't give me this, oh, you're quitting your league and I'm going to step in there and I'm going to win this, that, and the third. The hobby would be better if the season ended around Labor Day or maybe even 4th of July. I know that might be a little bit extreme,
hey man, just because you've got the attention span of a gnat and you can't focus on baseball.
Howard, it's not my. You keep cutting Coop off all week, but you're talking about my attention span.
I am talking about your attention span, dude. Anybody who's going to sit there and start whining and crying that the fantasy baseball season is too long, yeah, you know what? Don't play then. I'd rather you not play and keep it actually competitive because you know what happens is that the crybabies and the weak-minded all turn to fantasy football and they quit on it.
And
I'm just saying
you can't beat me in fantasy football.
I will say,
what are you talking about? Boom, league now.
Let's go.
Plus,
yeah, forget baseball. That's right. We got
I don't care who it is. A Bettor Morning Fantasy Football League. I'm in it right there. Corey, you and I, side action on all of our matchups and how we finish in the standings here. I'm all in for it.
It's just like the AFC South bets. You guys betting on who comes in second because I'm easily going to win that. But I will say this. I am with Corey. It would be nice. It would be nice if fantasy baseball ended right at the start of football and you could play both and cruise right in. It's that overlap period where teams are shutting guys down too, Howard. You know it. It's like, oh, okay. The moment that magic number disappears, everyone's like, oh, I'm going to have surgery on this hangnail. Like, it's just at the end of the season, it turns into such a mess.
Listen, if you can't be a multi-sport athlete in fantasy, then get the hell out of the industry. If it's just all football, and you can't compete in another league at the same time that your fantasy football league's going on, listen, it takes skill, it takes savvy, it takes intelligence to win a fantasy baseball league. Any mouth-breathing knuckle dragger can win a fantasy football league.
Is a part of it too.
I said it would be nice. Would be nice.
Just at me next time, Howard.
I am playing.
You're all in on NASCAR. What are you talking about? You're fine with your fantasy NASCAR league, right? Go ahead.
Fantasy NASCAR is dope, dude.
I had no idea that Britt Flynn was actually the daughter of Big Daddy Don Garlitz. I'm actually more impressed with that. She's the love child of Daddy Garlitz and Shirley Muldowney.
All right, so I was taking notes during that segment, and what I got from it is 4th of July weekend is for chocolate milk, gluttony, work stuff, and owning other people online. So
coffee milk.
Coffee milk, excuse me, my bad. That was it for today's edition of A Bettor Morning. So thank you to Corey, Howard, Britt, and Coop, and we would like to wish everybody a happy and safe 4th of July weekend.